Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put our First Division Coventry City winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host, Mike, and with me on the panel today, we have neither Mark nor Dan as advertised, but we do have Joe, who was advertised last week, but he didn't do last week, so he's doing this week instead of Mark, who I didn't pin down, and Dan may well join us at some point. So that's really clear and just straightforward. I hope you've kept up with it. Voice may be a little bit funny, the mouth may be a little bit funny because the young one decided to knee me right in the jaw about 10 minutes before we started, and all in retaliation because I was trying to blow a raspberry on her, and she told me she was very sorry, but she's a strong, independent woman, and that's what I get if I try and blow raspberries. She's 6, everyone, just to remind you, she's 6, and she beats her daddy. In this episode, apart from the parental abuse, we will be covering the win against Notts County and the waves of emotion that entails. And we will look forward to the trip to Tranmere, which I won't be making as usual. Do remember, the engagement is important. Please like, share, do all the retweets or re-X's or whatever they call it. And everyone who does it, thank you very, very much. It does help spread the word and get people's eyes and ears on the podcast. And I always like everyone's corrections. I did know we had won a game in the previous year, but it was in Wimbledon, and I meant to say we haven't won outside the M25, but on the second take, I forgot that little tiny detail. But don't go around sending corrections into me because we'll never get through a show if I have to read out all the corrections. It's ridiculous. We have got Joe, as I said, who was going to be on, well, as he mentioned, he was going to be on in December for the Harrogate match that got postponed, and then he was going to be on last week, and there was a mix-up on timings. But finally, after his last appearance way back in October, the fan club of Joe has been clamouring for his return. It's a number 10 appearance for Joe. He gets a little pin badge when I can find where I put them. But hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm very good, Mike. I've had a lot of people telling me, "Where are you? We're waiting. We're waiting." The last episode got a lot of views, and I know that you got some comments saying we want Joe back.
Where's Joe?
So,
exactly.
So
yeah.
you know that I'm sure that the Joe fan club will be very happy. But I'm very good. Been a busy few months, but yeah, really happy to be back. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, give Joe a go. Club news. There wasn't a huge amount, to be honest, since last week, except Max, who I believe has been training with us, has now signed for Doncaster, which sounds awful, but I think they've got a couple of the teams around us to play. So hopefully Max will bang in a few goals for Doncaster and do us a favour in those games. Don't forget the coach travel. I believe now it's all either at the hub or online. You can't book with John directly, so you need to do it online on the club's website or at the hub directly, which obviously is going to streamline it. I mean, everyone can get picked up and sorted out quicker. Podcast news. We have in the last 2 weeks dropped 70 places and 59 places in the Spain podcast charts. I'm at number 248. See, what I'm taking from that is we've dropped 130 places in 2 weeks. What the hell were we doing up in that position anyway? But apparently in Spain, we're well liked in the soccer podcast charts. So well done, everyone in Spain. Thank you very much. Joe.
Yeah.
The game in Notts County, you weren't there. I mean, lots of people made the choice not to go. Dan, who's got laptop issues, may be joining us in a second to jump in. but he made a last-minute decision. Well, I think it might have been last minute, but he was very up and down whether he'd go or not. And then he did put out a series of tweets saying how ridiculous it was that he was going to watch the worst team in the Football League and blah, blah, blah. And obviously, and all that entailed. But how were you kind of feeling ahead of the match? What were your hopes, expectations? Was this just think, oh, God, we're going to get battered? Or did you have any hope realistically? I know hindsight, you'll say, yeah, but did you really have hope?
Not at all. I'm sorry. We've said in the past 9 appearances, my youthful optimism comes in somewhat. I have lost the youthful optimism over the last 9 months. I did not have massive hope. Like, I know that Notts weren't in good form, and they're still not in good form. They're in worse form. But we've won 4 games all year, so that we technically are in the worst form of anyone. So I didn't have much hope. I'm like, Steve hasn't done awfully away from home. He hasn't done awfully. Like, he points at Mansfield, points at Walsall, like close losses at Morecambe and Bradford. But yeah, I had hope that maybe we could scrape a 1-1 draw, hopefully. But I thought it was more likely to be like a 3-3 draw, because I think we both, they let in a lot of goals. We let in a lot of goals. You know, I was hoping that could maybe happen, but I didn't really think there'd be a winning day out, to be honest. But I was proved wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he does like to tinker a little bit with the side, and it does keep the old selection on the fan hub a little bit interesting. But how did you get any of the lineup? How were you sort of feeling with the lineup with Noah Mari, Dino, or Lee? I don't think Lee was even on the bench, was he?
No, I don't think he was. I've given up with the predictions because I just don't know what he's going to do. Like I said, going into the game on Saturday, that Dino would be in goal as always, and we'd have basically pretty much unchanged team. He knows who he wants to play now, and then we had Jack Taylor, Sam Roberts, Steve Arnold. We had a whole mix-up on the team sheet, and we did all right. Got 1-1 draw. Should have done better. He seems like he's figured out who he likes to play at the back now. He trusts Sam, he trusts Ben, he trusts Kiz, he trusts Nino a lot. It seems like he likes to play him a bit more advanced. I'm happy Jim McKenna got a start, because I think he's been a bit on the bench lately, and I think he's just he creates a bit of a spark. Charlie Lakin obviously has been, I'd say, the player of the season since he took over, because he's just been like like just basically putting his 100% into everything he does. But yeah, Matt Kirby on the bench. I've always wanted to see him on the team sheet, because he's been on the team squad for ages. He's been at Hendon, he's been all over the place, but he's never been on the team. So it was nice for him to be there. But yeah, I didn't read too much into the team. I was happy Steve Arnold was playing, because he did well on Saturday, to be honest. But yeah, I guess the back 5-ish, but then it kind of switched between 5 and 4. So I don't really know. We switch mid-match nowadays, so I don't really know what's happening.
Yeah. And Dan joining us just as we started. Hello, Dan. You all right?
Evening. Sorry about that.
That's
laptop. Right. I used my work laptop, and they forced an update, so I had to wait for that to finish. I can't stop it. So
no, love that.
That's what you get for working with Americans.
Yeah, it's like everyone when they all that lockdown, everyone kept doing Zoom things, and I was like, I hate Zoom. Please don't do Zoom. And every time I went into Zoom, it was like, okay, we're going to do an update. It's going to take 4 days. Oh, go away.
That's pretty much what happened here.
Yeah, but we were just sort of saying. In fact, I just said that you were a doubt for this match. You were like, I'm not doing it. I don't know. I might do it. I don't think I'm doing it. Oh, for God's sake, what a twat, I'm doing it. What kind of moron goes off to Nottingham midweek for a game we're going to get battered in? But this is why you do it. It's this tiny, ridiculous chance. But ahead of kickoff, how were you kind of feeling on the lineup, or what was your expectations? What were your hopes?
Yeah, I just travelled more. Again, it's one of those ones where you travel more in hope than expectation. There was quite a few of the guys up there, so we kind of met up and had a couple of beers before, a bit bite to eat. And I don't think anyone really expected much. then we saw the lineup, and it was kind of okay. Duke McKenna starting, that gives us a bit of impetus from the off, a little bit of that, because he just has that little bit of unpredictability. He loves to get on the ball. And he wants to go at players and make stuff happen. So yeah, I mean, no one was unhappy with the lineup. We looked at it and thought, that's not bad, and there's Duke McKenna adds that bit of liveliness to us. So yeah, all right, let's see what happens. And then 6 minutes in, it all went a bit mad.
Yeah. So as Joe was saying, that neither team really covered themselves in glory defensively. So he was hoping for quite a high-scoring game. But you mentioned six minutes, a nice. Well, we may have expected an early goal, but we didn't expect it at that end.
No comment.
And a bit of an old school. The winger getting it across to the opposite wing right back, bundling it in. How were you feeling at that point? Dazed and confused, I'm guessing, but any other?
Pleasantly surprised, I think we would probably put it down under. Yeah, we started the game quite brightly, as we have done actually the last 3 or 4, and then suddenly we just seem to have a bit of a brain fart and concede. But this time, yeah, the good little bit of link up between Nino and Duke, and he got a nice reverse cross, and it wasn't an outswing. He sort of swung it back in, and I think that's what kind of caught him a bit. And Jacko got on the end of it. So yeah, it was a good start. And it was like, well, okay, fine. We've got a game where we're up early. We haven't conceded, and we're not chasing. And I think that just gave us like real confidence, the squad, real confidence to kind of kick on, and we just showed that grit throughout the game, to be honest.
Yeah. So Joe, something to defend for the first time, I think, under Steve.
Yeah.
So how were you feeling? You're watching it on this, I don't know, big screen or small screen, but you're watching it on TV. Were you excited at the early start, the way we were playing?
I have to be honest, I was making a drink. So I'd left the room and I had my phone in my pocket, and my phone went because I've got Sky Sports, BBC Sport, all of them for Sutton United goals. My phone just went mental. I was like, oh, we're 1-0 down. And then I looked at it and I was like, hang on. And I've rushed back and I was like, I can't believe we've missed the only time to score an opening goal. But yeah, really good. Obviously seen the replay. I really like Duke McKenna. He is a really good player. It's someone like is what Amari and Josh gave us on the first day of the season, but just a bit more often. And yeah, good. Just get the ball in the back of the net. Good start. And he seemed really happy because like he's started to get a run of games in the side as Jacko, and he's starting to look like he's really starting to enjoy himself, especially like even though Saturday paper he started to look like more of a player, which obviously with just experience, and it was good for him to get on the score sheet because I think he's starting to become the new right back instead of Kiz. I don't know. It just feels like that's where Murray prefers to play him, because I think Kiz has moved slightly centre half, and I think something I've noticed over the season is he's more willing to go forward a bit more than Kiz is this season. Feels like Kiz lost a little bit of confidence in that sense. That I don't know. Obviously, maybe the service from the strikers and how it's all working isn't working particularly well, but I feel like Ryan's a bit more just go get him, just no matter what. And same with the Duke. So 2 players who I think don't really mind if they just put the next in the line and maybe go forward out of position a bit, but it paid off for us.
Yeah, I mean he's last couple of games looking a bit like the player we signed, isn't he, Dan? The expectation. But you mentioned we shown that bit of resilience, and we held the lead for 7 minutes. The penalty. There will be conversation about the ref afterwards. But from being there, did it look like? Did you know what it was for, or did it look like a penalty, or did you just assume?
Because it was far end, and the angle I had, I didn't see it. I had a feeling what it was because of the way the shot had gone in, and I saw Ben sort of trying to get across to block it. And I can't remember who it was. If it was one of their players or one of ours, it was kind of just from my view, was dead in front of Ben. So what I saw was Ben kind of try and get across to block it, and the ball went out wide. The bloke had the little nod on goal. Keeper made the save. Steve Arnold made the save, and then the ref pointed the spot. So I kind of guessed it was probably for handball, but I couldn't see it. I mean, having seen the replay on the video, the highlights, it was nailed on. It's one of those ones where he tried to get across and it struck his arm, same as the one we got on Saturday. So no real complaints with it.
No, I mean,
I did say when Langstaff roofed it, though, was like, that's how you take a penalty.
I mean, Joe, I don't know, you watching it, I had to have a couple looks at it because I was like, did that actually, because I think he kind of had his arms like that and it hit here, which, yes, technically, and they should be given. They're not always given, as we know. But were you kind of, oh, for God's sake, I mean, with Ben, you worry it's a penalty or you worry it's going to loop over him and nestle in the net and all sorts of other things as well. But how were you kind of feeling at 1-1? Were you like, oh, that was nice while it lasted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, oh, well done. Good pen. Not much you can do about that. You've got to pick a side. And yeah, I was just like, we'll go again. Hopefully we can take it. I'll be honest, at 1-1, I was like, okay, now they're going to run away with it. We got a nice 10, 12, 13 minutes, but we got a goal, and that's better.
But they did have, again, it's all happened all over the place, so I haven't written any of this down. But they had another penalty shout. One of their players fell, should we say, in the box.
Yeah, he went over a leg, I would say, is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, but it was waved away and kind of cleared down their end, and then their defender decided to give
not to pass it
a great back pass to the keeper from our point of view. So were you kind of up and play, or were you kind of like, oh, how trying to still work out the penalty down, or were you watching and thinking Smithy's got this?
But when we cleared the ball, obviously we saw their shout, and it I mean, even from the far end, it looked a bit hopeful for them. And again, when you watch back on the highlights, it's one of those ones where the bloke kind of throws himself over the leg, and of course the ref wasn't having any of it. It was that blatant. So cleared it upfield, and it went obviously into the channel, and we thought, oh, okay, cleared our lines. Defender took his touch, and someone said something to me, and I looked away, and then suddenly everyone went, oh, and I looked back, and suddenly Harry Smith has the ball. I'm like, what the bloody hell happened there? The bloke was like in yards of space. So I knew he hadn't robbed him. So it's just, and suddenly Harry's there, and go on then, and good finish actually. He stuck it away well. But yeah, God knows what the defender was thinking. I mean, the pass was miles short. He sort of tried. I think he either was going to go back to the keeper, or he had a defender inside him, but with Harry in between. So I don't know whether he was trying to play it back to his teammate or to the keeper. And it went like 2 foot and rolled perfectly into Harry's stride. And he went, oh, all right then, cheers, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a bit bizarre, that one.
Had that been our winger laying it onto Harry, you'd be like, that's a great assist, that, isn't it? It's marvellous. Joe, what was your view of it, watching it?
I couldn't believe what I was seeing, a bit like Dad. I was like, this has been served up on a plate to us, because I was like, the moment I could, when the penalty shot went up, I was like, oh God, this is going to go against us. This is the start. And then it got waved. I was like, oh, okay, cleared up. And I was like, right, well, ball away. Let's reset. And then all of a sudden, he just got the ball, and it's almost like he just stopped. He just hit his foot, and it just rolled away, and he didn't really know what to do with it. And like for Harry, I'm not saying his shooting is bad, but I don't think it's his main ability of his game. It's kind of his physicality, his headers and stuff like that. It was a good finish, and kind of put us back in the position where I think we deserve, considering how we started the game. Because without the pen, that gave them momentum. But it was only 4 minutes, and it was 15 minutes in. It was 2-1. It was reminding me of the Swindon game at the start of the season, apart from the fact that we weren't 3-0 down.
Mention games like that. Jesus
okay.
Christ. Dan was having
therapy.
Yeah.
Still having therapy over that one.
I mean, at this point, I'm sitting at home thinking, well, we put the ball in the back of the net twice, as Steve suggested, is what we need to do to win games. Any more you could have done? Yeah. Then look, obviously some bits, but we seemed all right until, I mean, it was a definite Sutton goal to concede. The header that kind of just hit the bloke, looped up, and everyone's just watching it going, nah, please don't go in. And in it went. So, Joe, you go first on that one. What was your thought on the second equaliser?
Just a bit of a depressing goal, isn't it? It just felt like it took an age to come down, and then it was like, oh, I just don't see anyone getting this. And I was like, okay, fine. I don't know, not much you can really do with that kind of goal. Like, I can't remember. It was it reminded me of the goal that I think it ended up an own goal. It was like Leighton Orient away like a year ago, and I was there, and it was like an own goal, and it looped over Jack Rose, and it took so long, and it was like silent, and I just watched the ball just go drop into the net, and I was like, oh, that's literally our season in a goal. It is just like it could go anywhere. It could hit the bar. It could be saved. It could hit the post. It could go miles over. It could go on the top of the net. But it hits exactly where we don't want it to go. It was 2-2. I think 2-2 was kind of a fair reflection on the first half, to be honest. And you know, I suppose if it was 2-1 to them, then that would have, I think, put a kibosh on the game, because I don't know if we have the kind of the mental fortitude to come back from 3-1 down yet, because considering our
history,
our season. Let's put it like that.
But Dan, how were you? I think it was WTF is what you tweeted around at this point.
It was. Yeah, like Joe says, it's depressingly a Sutton United 23-24 goal, wasn't it? It was didn't. Jacko missed the first ball in completely, gave him a chance, which, funny enough, they had a big scream for on a penalty for handball on that. You can't even tell from the video, but we come out with it, don't clear our lines, give them the ball straight back, and then the bloke loops across in for the second shortest man on the pitch to loop a header over. And I mean, Steve Arnold didn't quite cover himself in glory either, because he started to come and then realised the ball was swinging out, so he was never going to get near it. And then the lads out jumped a centre back, and he was like 5'2", and managed to loop the header in. So it's like, oh, really? Just one of those goals we've just found a way to concede all season. And yeah, it just came from a little spell of pressure where we defended reasonably well after going back in front up to that point. So yeah, it was like, oh, typical. You know, we've looked all right, and then suddenly from nowhere we've managed to concoct a situation where we've conceded. So it was disappointing, shall we say?
So how Joe's already mentioned how he was sort of feeling at half time. How were you kind of we've been pegged back to 2-2. Did you think that was a fair reflection, as Joe thought, or?
Yeah, I'd say it was. I mean, I'd say they'd created 2 or 3 decent chances, other than the 2 goals they scored. Langstaff blazed one over quite early. They had a couple of other moments sort of in and around the box. Steve Arnold made one save where he knew nothing about it, just thudded into his chest. And
no position.
Rebounded out.
Experience, that is.
So, I mean, they'd had the better of the chances, but we'd certainly given a really good account of ourselves. And I think one of the things that broke up the way we were playing most, the one thing I was raging about half time was the ref. It's just been so bad. And that's I was talking to a lad who used to follow Thurrock, who lives up that way now, and one of his mates came over for the game. And even they were stood there going, what's that bloke on? And he'd been absolutely dreadful. We picked up, I think, 3 yellows in the first half and nothing. Mm-hmm. And that was more the talking point than, all right, we're still in the game. That's better than usual. So, let's go again second half. But yeah, everyone was just pissed off with the ref, I think.
Yeah. I think, did Sam also had a chance, I think was that the first half as well, where he had a header almost open goal. I'm not sure if that was.
No, it was second
No,
half.
second half.
Yeah, it was down the far
Fair
end.
But with Steve's great positioning save, that's how exactly I made 2 saves from the one time I went in goal, because I basically told my defence, if this ball is on target, it's in. And then there was 2 that hit me and bounced out, and I don't count as saves because
You stopped it.
I could just imagine you. I could just imagine you in goal and just go thud and just offer you.
I literally just said, I'm only here for the numbers. That's it. The only thing I'm doing is standing here. So if any shots come into this goal, that's on you, not on me. And they defended very well. But yeah, so we come out and we have our newfound optimism and our newfound belief and all the psychological buzzwords. And we should have had a penalty, which I will come back to Dan in a second because I know he's got thoughts on this one. But Ollie sort of followed it up and scored anyway before the ref had to make a decision. But Joe, how were you sort of feeling at that point? Now we're suddenly 3-2 up.
I think I will have similar thoughts to Dan about that pen because I don't understand. Like, yes, Ollie taps it in, great. That's about as stonewall as it gets. How do you not immediately go pen? I don't understand. That's also not the point. We should have been 3-2 down at the start of the second half. We just fell asleep. I can't remember what happened. It was like it was like that typical goal that we've been conceding. It's just the ball in the back, just ball in, header, I think it was. And Arnold makes a really good save. And I was like, that's got to be offside because he was so far out. And I was like, surely he's offside because there was no one near him. It was just kind of that. And it made a brilliant save. And I was like, oh gosh. I don't know. It looked offside, but I don't know. And then we scored on the Eastman hit it, handball, and it was like nothing, literally nothing happened. And then Ollie tapped it in, which I think Ollie, good for him to get a goal because he looks like a really quite bright player. And yeah, at 3-2, I felt a bit, hang on, we've scored 3 goals. What's going on? Away. And I think this was because this was a bit of a lull in like between the 50th and the 60th minute where it just kind of went a bit, oh, let's chill a second. So I went to make a drink and I came back and then I didn't drink my drink for the next 20 minutes because everything just kicked off all of a sudden. So then my drink went cold and I just sat the last 10 minutes nervously sipping my drink as Sutton fans often do when we're like leading by 1 goal.
Yeah, I've just looked at the timing. So we scored after 6, they scored after 13, then we're 16. Then there was a nice long period because it was 33. Then it was 64. Then it was 7. Then it was 64, 70, and 77. But Dan, you made the point similar to Joe there about the ref and the not given penalty. Having watched it back, are you more forgiving that he was seeing where the advantage went, or?
I wouldn't say I'd be more forgiving. Because I'm firmly of the opinion if Ollie hadn't been there to tap that in, I don't think he was blowing for that. You could just look at his body language. He's probably, if anything, like, oh, it's a good job that yellow lad's there to tap that in. I don't think he'd have given it. I really don't think he'd have given it, just judging off of his first half performance. But yeah, luckily, I mean, but again, it was a good attack from us. We caused them problems. I tell you what, the little ball up to Smith in the box, just made himself some space, took a little touch and just stepped inside the bloke and hit a really good shot. And the keeper had to make a really good save, actually, to keep it out. And Eastie's follow-up was on target as well. So, yeah, I mean, Harry Smith made that from practically nothing. So, yeah, glad to see Ollie off the mark. He's worked hard. He's not really had much in the way of chances. No. So yeah, it'll give him bags of confidence. He puts a shift in. You know, he's got plenty of effort, but he hasn't really carried much goal threat. So it'd be nice to see if him getting a goal sort of kicks him on a little bit as well. We get a bit more out of him. But yeah, for the penalty, I don't think if Ollie hadn't been there, I don't think he'd have given it.
We definitely would have got it. I mean, sorry, I meant to mention this on their penalty. I think it was one of their fans who was actually saying, not sure why that was allowed to carry on as it was because the guy had a shot and then he pulled it back and it went out and he then pulled it back for the penalty. So it kind of broke to one of when it bounced off Ben, it was one of their blokes who put it out. But I'm sure it was one of their. It certainly wasn't someone of our fans that I know. So, but sure, it's somebody else's. But we got pegged back again to make it 3-3. This is with 20 minutes to go now. So I was feeling quite disheartened by this point, going, how on earth can you take the lead 3 times away from home?
Have you watched us this season?
And, yes, but I could have understood if we conceded the 3. I got that. That I'm comfortable with. It's the fact we kept getting that little bit of hope. Like I said to you, this bunch of bastards is going to dig us out of it and just keep us in it to the last 5 minutes of the last day of the season.
Don't.
Well, we can see it. But how were you feeling? Sort of at a 3-3, Dan. Were you like? Were you still feeling that we were in control, or were you thinking this is it now, the onslaught?
Yeah, we got 3-2 up, and they seemed to lose. I think at that point there was definitely booing after the 3rd goal went in for us. So, and I think their fans were starting to get a bit on their lads' backs because we've rocked up bottom of the league. They're obviously desperate to get a bit of revenge for the opening day. Also, Harry Smith, they don't want him beating him again.
They hate him.
They were
absolutely hate him.
Yeah, they would. I mean, every time he got the ball, there was a bit of booing. But the booing started after we'd gone 3-2 up, and you could just sense that their crowd quietened down because they were like, "We're just, we're not. We've conceded 3 to this mob. We've been bottom all pretty much all season." And they started to get a bit narky towards their own players that weren't backing them as much. And I at that point I felt quite, this might be on here. And then that little sod got the ball, and we just Charlie Laking just didn't quite get to him quick enough to close him down the first time, and it was one of those where he showed good footwork to get away, but Charlie knew he couldn't leave the foot in, or he didn't make the challenge, and because he didn't make the challenge, the lad then is whoever's inside is suddenly, I've got to do that, and there was like 2 or 3 others who got near him but couldn't quite get a foot in, and fair play. I mean, it was a cracking hit, such a good finish, and it was just like. You couldn't really blame anyone for it. It wasn't one of those ones that it's great. So we've busted our bollocks here to get 3-2 up, and then we've not made the mistake. It's the statutory worldie that has to fly in now.
Yeah.
So it's
So we had dodgy pen, scrappy goal, great goal, all in one match. Joe, how were you feeling at 3-3? Were you?
Yeah, good goal.
Yeah.
At that point, I was just a bit like, "Oh, come on, make it end." I'll take 3-3. I was just, it was just, I didn't have hope. I don't know what I had. I was just, I was on this group chat, and literally, I think they've got hobbies which are football, away days, and then just bullying me for Sutton's misfortunes this season. Like Harry Smith got unsufferable abuse when he missed that pen on Saturday, and I was just, it was just like, I got so excited 3-2 up because I was just like, yes, we could actually win this. They didn't look particularly potent, and then they just scored, and it was literally as I was recording a voice message saying we're going to stay up that the goal went in, and everyone got the notifications on their phones. I just turned my phone off because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to listen to it. It was a great goal, to be fair. It reminded me of the goal at Morecambe, which we lost in like last minute earlier this season. Reginald kind of committed to closing down. It is another like really good finish. But yeah, the guy who scored it, he was really weird towards his own fans. Like he capped his ears at the first goal. And Knott's. I looked at the Knott's Twitter after the game just to see what their fans were saying about it, because I knew they'd be annoyed about Harry Smith and everything. A lot of the comments were saying get I think it was Crowley, and yet
Crowley, yeah.
Baldwin, the guy who made the bad back pass, out of the club immediately, cupping your hands toward the fans, even though and then there were some I think they were some interesting fans. A lot of and then I looked into profiles of like 25 year season ticket holder were all replying saying he's kept us in that game by the scruff of his eye. I was like, okay, right, well, it doesn't seem to be a harmonious environment at Notts at the moment, considering obviously Luke Williams left, but now they're 14th. Like 6 games ago, they were playoffs, they were real contenders, and they were just looking like a proper team who could, on their day, even though they let goals in, score 4 or 5 past basically anybody. And now they've just got this new manager that's not quite working. And the way how tight the league is, they could finish like 19th, 20th, which is just ridiculous.
Could we finish above? Oh no, we can't. Just checking if we did that.
Well, we could go on a 13-game winning run, mate.
We could do, yeah. It's unlikely.
It's very unlikely, but
not probable doesn't mean it's not possible.
Exactly.
But at 3-3 at home, they've pulled it back 3 times. This is where you would expect them to start turning it on a little bit. We've got the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was us that kind of controlled the rest of the game. We got a penalty. Lakin with some great footwork, and they kind of had no choice to take him down. But we'll start with you on this one, Dan, because I think they cut to a replay part of the conversation with the ball. We saw Sam have it, Harry come over and have a chat to try and take it, and kind of there was a little bit of I'm taking it.
No.
Then it cut to a replay, and we didn't really see what happened, but apparently the conversation carried on. So what was it like for you? What were you seeing there?
I mean, well, yeah. I was worried that when I saw Lakin go down, obviously we had the shout for the pen, and I was thinking this dickhead's going to give a free kick on the 18-yard line here. But no, he pointed to the spot. I'm like, oh, bloody hell. So he had the pen, and then the same conflap happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously Steve has now explained. And it's like, you could have explained that on Saturday, Steve. But there was the same little discussion. And basically, Harry pushed, it was Sam and Harry. Harry was like, no, you pushed Sam away. And like, oh, right, Harry's going to take it again. And they've obviously decided that that's what it is. And like, obviously, Harry's walked up to the spot, put the ball down, of course, all that mob behind the goal, boo, giving it all the rest of it. And then he just gives them a little wave and walks away. And Lakin stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, so he's just being a shit ass then.
Yeah. Yes.
And then Charlie rammed it down the middle. I mean, obviously, there was the same little conflab that we'd had on Saturday. That was a bit, what's going on here again?
I mean, you mentioned Steve's explanation. What did you think of the explanation, Joe? I wasn't 100% convinced.
I hadn't seen it.
Okay. There is things where there's been studies where the person who's holding the ball for the longest, the pressure of the penalty gets to them, or something. So they always try and give the ball to someone last second now to take the penalty. It did sound like a lot of nonsense, I'll be honest, when I was hearing it. But Dan, what did you think of the explanation? Were you happy with that? Or I mean, I don't care.
At the end of the day, it's irrelevant as long as whoever's taking it, as long as they've decided, look, you're taking the pens. If we get one, you're taking it. If you're still on the pitch, obviously, teams must decide that. They don't do it willy-nilly and someone just grabs it, which what it looked like on Saturday. But Steve's explanation, and having watched a couple of interviews of him while he was still a player, and also just after he retired as well, I found another one. He is very big on his psychology and his mindset stuff. It is something he's really into, as well as his stats. And him basically, and when he said it as well in the post-match thing, it just came naturally. It wasn't like it was a bullshit excuse. It was, no, we do it because whoever holds, like you say, whoever has hold of the ball longest, if the taker has hold of the ball for ages while there's guys scuffing the penalty spot up or the refs booking someone or all the rest of it, then it's just that time frame, that elapsed time. So it's best that they get the ball. Either they don't place it and someone else takes it, or they get the ball last second to place and take. So I'd say, I wouldn't say I'd say that's genuinely something he has told them, and that's why. And it kind of does bear with it as it was on Saturday, because Sam Hart picked it up and Harry took it off of him and put it down. So it kind of it holds water for me.
Well, the only my sort of issue with that is that they must have misunderstood the message, because Harry took it, put it down, and then he was ages waiting to take it because of the treatment going. So maybe they didn't quite get the idea of, no, you're not supposed to do it until the last second. So that's
maybe, yeah, maybe he just wasn't.
He made a very valid point of all penalties are good when they go in. So he said if Harry's had gone in, it would have been a great penalty as well. So, and he raised the smile with him as well as he said it. But Joe, what were you kind of thinking? Finally, we're now 4-3 up. Lakin scored, I think that's his third in the 10 games.
Yeah.
3 and 4, I think, for him now.
Yeah. There was a bottle thrown, which it will be interesting to see if the referee does report it, because he obviously had to take it over to the sideline, so he has to really mention it. And I think Harry's tried to make absolutely sure he mentions it, because Harry's added it to his Instagram story, going, "No, guys, I don't like tango. Next time, make it a Coke." Yeah, he doesn't like them at all either. It'd be funny if he signs for him. But how are you sort of feeling? Joe's face.
Don't you dare. Did you write this off? We can still stay up. We just need 9 points from the next 3, and before you know it, we're 21st. We're
Exactly.
making moves.
But how are you feeling the last 15 minutes? We seem to be very un-Sutton and keeping the ball, keeping it in the corners, controlling it. Yeah, there were 1 or 2 times it got away from us, but it seemed to be only one team was going to score. Joe, I'll start with you on that. How are you feeling in the last sort of 15 minutes, 4-3 up?
I was employing deep breathing exercises because I just couldn't deal with it. I just in a paper bag. I think Morris had a difficult start. I think one thing he's really improved is our game management, because I know he hasn't won yet, but I think the way in the games we've drawn, and even in the games we've lost, I think in games before the start of the season, if we were like maybe a 1-0 down, 2-1 down, something like that. Often it was 4-1, but still, even if we were getting close, something like that, we would they'd walk all over us. Whereas now it feels like, and maybe with the mindset stuff, he is that we know how to manage the situation a bit better. He's got a new sports psychiatrist, hasn't he? I saw it in one of his interviews, and maybe that's part of it. Yeah,
Peter Salis, is it? I think.
Yeah, that's the one, Peter Salis. And that might be part of it. But yeah, we were good. They didn't look particularly. Oh God, let's just 4-4. Let's take a point. We looked all right. And I just love Harry Smith, like crying as he celebrated, just doing the little crying thing over through the Notts County fans, if you saw that. And it's just, he's just like, if we do go down, he'll probably leave us. But if he doesn't, I think he's liked a lot, because I think he brings a different kind of game to us, a bit more aggression, a bit more. So he's had the red cards. It doesn't really. Yeah. Kind of.
I don't know. I'll come to your thoughts in the last few minutes, Dan. But I was talking to someone at work, and I was like, if we did, I'm not sure he would, to be honest, because I think he'll feel that he's got something he owes us, and he has got that connection, the Millwall connection with Steve as well. So obviously he's on a higher wage, so we may give him no choice in the matter. But he could be one of the ones that go, no, I think I owe them something, because obviously 9 games he's missed for red cards, so he might. Who knows? But we're not going to go down anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Dan, what were you thinking about the last sort of 15 minutes? As I said, very un-Sutton, keeping control of the ball.
Yeah, it's a weird. I'm trying to describe this. I was watching it, and we were in virtually no trouble at all. We gave them not a sniff. I think that penalty just killed them. Just killed them, because like I say, from 3-2, their crowd were on their backs. Even when they levelled, they were on their backs. You know, because they weren't thrashing us the bottom side at home. And yeah, when we got the penalty, I mean, if you look at, I think it was Crowley that gave away the penalty, the lad who'd scored twice for him, and you just watch his reaction to it. He sticks the leg out, knows exactly what he's doing, trips him, and he just turns and walks away because he knows he's just given away a penalty. He doesn't even bother with the bullshit kind of the bullshit footballer plea. No, you've got to be joking. Didn't even bother. Just literally and you can see a couple of their defenders in the box just go, oh. There's no protest. It's just It was just that I think that was it for them. They'd already kind of gone and thought that the 3-3 was probably going to be what it was. Look, if we get a chance, we'll try and take it. But let's just, you know, that's the result. And when we got that pen, they just went, again, we've got to come back again. And yeah, that was it. From the moment we scored the pen, they just, I mean, they were barely in our half for the last 15. It was, I mean, even when they did it, they put the big lad out up front, and a couple of times I think he was offside 3 times, and he gave away a foul the other time. I don't think he retained the ball for them once in our half, and we would just clear our lines, and then all we'd do is clear up and run into the corner. And the way we protected the ball as well, but certainly in the last sort of 4 or 5 minutes into injury time, and this was something someone was saying on Saturday on the Curve, saying they just don't look after the ball well enough. Well, we bloody did look on Tuesday night. The last 10 minutes, including added, they good strength, got it in the corner, didn't piss about, just held it. And again, and I think as well, you can see it in the way the county players were kind of, they weren't smashing in, trying to get the ball and just hurry up and speed things up. They were almost resigned to it, I think. And they'd just gone. And we just saw it out with no bother at all. Doesn't mean I wasn't completely shitting myself for every single second of those 6 added minutes. But
it's the hindsight. You can go, well, that was odd.
That was really easy at the end, wasn't it? But the last 6 minutes were typical injury time watching Sutton when leading. But I thought we defended it, the final lead very, very well. That was very pleasing to see. Just to see us see the game out that well.
And as you said, your soul got nourished at the end with the boos.
All of the booing.
Yay!
All of the booing. Give it to me. I love hearing it.
Drink it in. But yeah, so Steve's first win, you could almost feel the relief in. I know he says it's all coming. I have the belief, but you could almost feel the relief in that interview after the match. It was a very different interview. Our first and only possible double of the season. So Notts County, with of our 40 goals, 9 of them have been against Notts County. Of our 5 wins, 2 of them have been against Notts County. So thanks, guys. Please stay in this division. So lots of comments afterwards about the players coming over. And it felt like there was a tiny bit more of a reconnect that there has been in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Only thing I'll say there is it's easy to do it after a win. And we're kind of used to doing it. Okay, we lost, but thank you, and all the rest of it. So we'll see how that goes on. Dan, did you have your say on the ref? I mean, I'm happy to slate the ref today because we won. So I don't like slating the refs when we lose, but now we've won. I mean, you can go for fill your boots.
Have
you said enough?
The first half, I thought he was an absolute disgrace. Some of the decisions. I mean, like I say, we had the 2. Tony who used to go everywhere with Thurrock, and his mate came over for the game when we met him and had a pint beforehand and stuff. And they were stood behind us, and at half time, Tony's mate was like, "That's probably one of the worst refereeing performances I've ever seen." He said some of the stuff that he booked Ben Goodliff for kicking the ball away when he'd just been fouled and still got the shot away. and gave a free kick against him and then booked him for kicking the ball away. There was Harry Smith, who had a free kick given against him where he just read the movement of the play better, sort of skipped round the player with like, just, you know, when those little puts his arm, didn't shove him, it was like just a skip round him just so he could get goal side of him. And the bloke knew he'd completely done him, because when he got the ball, he just basically rugby tackled him. Mm-hmm. Yet that was a free kick their way. I mean, Nino's yellow card was disgusting. I mean, it was just a coming together. And okay, if he gives a free kick, you can have a whinge about it. But he blew for the free kick, walked about 5 yards, had two home players in his ear, which you're not supposed to do anymore. Yet, but apparently they've all given up on. And then suddenly there's a yellow card out. And he did it second half to Charlie Lakin with just a nothing, gave him a yellow card for actually not making a challenge. He was just constantly jockeying the lad. And in the end, he just went, oh, that's a foul and there's a yellow card. But yeah, his performance first half was up there with the worst. And it is one of those ones where you basically stand there and go, well, you're either, you're just, it's biased. Mm-hmm. It's not level. You're not playing on a level field. I just thought, and it just looked bent, just looked properly dodgy to me. Some of the stuff was just, explain it. There must be an assessor sat in the stand going, what? But even when neutrals are going, that is one of the most bizarre sort of 45 minutes I've seen from a match official. And we're going, we're shrugging, going, they're like that every week. So yeah, I thought it was terrible. But then there was a break in play in this, early in the second half where a few of us got properly stuck into him, right down in front of us. And he did turn around and have a look up. And I don't know whether that, maybe he had a think, or he was like, I don't know, maybe he'd gone in at half time and thought I was a bit shit there.
That's 2-2 for you, isn't it? And did the Lino turn around down the ref?
Yeah, great run, we're on there. We've not had 3 years we've been in the Football League, not had a single bite off an official, and then 2 games in a row.
It's like penalties.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he was. First half he was abysmal, like really bad. And I do feel sorry for the refs sometimes, because the FA talk about all this respect stuff, and then you get guys turning in performances like that on the regular, and you're like, how do you expect the players as well to respect you? They're the guys you're dealing with directly. I mean, dickheads like me shouting shouldn't make any difference. I'll get angry about it, or I don't. You know, it's by the by for them. But if you're running the game, and that's having an effect on the players as well. So if you've been that bad, you know, some of the cards that get given away, you can say, well, that's frustration and you've caused that. Or if you get a bundle, you've caused that because you've lost control of the game. So yeah, he was absolutely terrible.
Perfect. Okay, so you've resigned yourself to what you feel was inevitable, probably September, October time. I did say that this lot are going to just keep us hanging on. But how do you think, Joe, this game impacts the relegation picture in isolation?
I've thought about this a lot. Every win we've got this season, we've always said this, we'll go on a run now. I mean, we haven't, but we'll go on a run now.
This time.
Because it's different. It's a new manager. It's away from home. I know Wimbledon was away from home, but it was Christmas time. That was just lucky. I reckon the Wimbledon players were a bit tipsy from the night before. And yeah, I reckon we will go on a run. 13 games, finish 15th. Everyone will stay. We'll get a big transfer budget next season. And then we'll go up, winning the league 46 out of 46, get to the League Cup 5th round, and get to the FA Cup 5th round. There you go.
We're not due to win the league next season. It's the one after.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's the one after. Dan, in isolation, What do we think?
I came away with it just as enjoy the moment, and that was, to be honest, we all sat in a bar back in Nottingham afterwards, having a beer, sort of shaking our heads, going, "We've won," and everyone was just like, "Look, that's a nice reward for the guys, idiots like me, who've been slogging up and down the country watching it all year. Just enjoy that moment." I would suggest asking me that question after Saturday, because we have to back that up. We can, like Joe says, every time we've got a win, it's like, right. And this is the thing, when we've got a win, it's always been a decent one. And then, either by thumping someone, or we dug in and beat Bradford at home, and games like that, or AFC away, and it just never quite, it's a false dawn. So this Saturday is massive. If they can back that up with, to be honest, I'd even take a point away from home. Then you go into Grimsby next week, which, I mean, we keep talking about must-win games.
Big game.
There is no other option there. You have to beat them to drag them back in. And also because they've got 3 games in hand on us now. 3 points against them. If you take 4 from the next 2, if no one else around us gets anything, that puts us basically second bottom, possibly even within sight of getting out of the bottom 2, because we're now only 4 points behind. So, yeah, it's like I say, it's the old saying, it's the hope that kills you. I'm just enjoying Tuesday for what it was in isolation a little bit. I'll probably make more of a judgment after Saturday, after Tranmere, because if they can get a win or a draw there, then okay. Let's. But if we can get another win, then suddenly, the whole landscape changes.
Absolutely. We've got a momentum. It's fragile, but the games that we've played under Steve, they have all been close. I know that's where you're clutching at straws and everyone's like, "Oh, Mike's not been so positive," but they have all been close.
No, that's true.
And now one has fallen in our favour. So Tranmere aren't in the best of form. Some of their fans are getting quite sort of annoyed and kind of worried. I think they're too far ahead.
I don't think they'll trouble the bottom 2.
Yeah.
No.
But they're our friends. They like us. They might want us to stay in the division. Do us a little favour. But I mean, Joe, how do you see Saturday going? Same as Dan, take a point, or
no? I think we need the win. Because I'll be so honest. I was just talking about Grimsby's 3 games in hand are MK, Wimbledon, and Colchester. So, not that we have any rivalry with any of those teams, but if MK could put in a good performance, if Wimbledon could do us a favour, and if Colchester, I think it will end up being a 3-horse race between us, Forest Green, and Grimsby, because I think Colchester are a good enough side. And I think the Cowleys will eventually get a decent run of games because they got 1, 2 maybe games in hand, I think. I think Tranmere, I think we need to have a dig-in performance. I would be very happy going. I keep thinking this. I don't know if I'll do it away from home. I know we did it yesterday. I'd like to have a really just solid back, like 5, and then a really explosive 5 in front, which can become a 3-5-2 or something like that. Duke McKenna, Josh, even Amari seems a bit. I don't know what's happening there. I don't really want to look at it. He seems a bit out of favour because we won last night, and the only thing he posted on his Instagram story was Lewis Hamilton saying something in his press conference. So he doesn't seem particularly invested in the cause. I don't know if that's what that's all about, because there was rumours of things going on with Matt earlier in the season. That's all in the past, obviously. I think we need to go at it as if this is it or not. We've got to go to every single game now, whether it is we're in the National League or we're in the League 2. That's how we have to look at games, because that is the situation.
Are you going 11 Cup finals?
I am.
Are you starting the Cup finals early? Oh my God!
I am, and it's not. It's a month. It's 2 months. It's March and April. And they're all like. If I have a look at our games, we've got Grimsby, Forest Green, Tranmere, there are games like Crawley at home. The home games, we used to be so good at home, and you know, I've seen this team. And this team, I don't think are the worst team we put out. I think we've got some really great players. They just look low on confidence, and I think they've just got to go into it saying we can beat these teams, because they can. Because when they perform well, as we saw yesterday, and they played well against Doncaster. They played. You're right. We have been unlucky, but we've just got to go into every game thinking realistically. Everyone's saying this is the best League Two for years. There's been no team in the league who hasn't had an absolute shocker at least once. The problem is we've had an absolute shocker about 20 times.
Yeah.
So we need to get. I'm saying it. We've used all our absolute shockers. We've now got to use all our absolute blinders 11 times in the row. And a point would be great, but we've got to go into it saying we've got to literally put our everything on the line. I think no matter in the squad, and I was saying this on Saturday to someone, you've got to only be playing players who are in for the fight. And I don't care. People are saying, where's Amari? Where's there are players, and they have been dropped. And Amari, D or Dino, they don't. And the reason that's why Steve's come in, because, you know, he's trying to get the best out of players who really want to be here and really want to actually keep us up. And I feel like we're starting to get that group of players. Like he's putting players like Sam Robertson, like Kirby on the bench, because they seem like they really want to stay up. I don't want to go into the Jack Rose situation because I don't know. No one knows what's happening there. Do you know?
I believe it's an injury. It's an injury that they've got misdiagnosed, and from what I've heard, he got an injury, something to do with his foot, I think. They misdiagnosed it, and it's just had him out for ages. So that's what I believe is the situation there.
Well, we don't know. I heard something about in Jan, Solihull Moors. We're having a look at him. But back in November, because he was out of favour with Dino, and that's where he's from. He's a West Brom Academy lad, so that's what I heard. I don't really know. I feel like we're starting to get. I want to use Tuesday as a place to get a group of people and a group of fans who just care about it, because I think now we're really starting to hit the moment of the season. Because I think everyone, I don't know, we can look at it and say, oh well, we're back in the National League. It's all a bit of a fairy tale, but we can look at it as if we can stay here, because I think we actually can. I don't think Grimsby and Forest Green are much better. I think Forest Green are either decent or awful, and I think Grimsby under Artell look no man's land really. Like they got a point on Saturday, but they can also be prone to a 5-1 thumping. We've kind of eradicated that, and if we can turn those 2-1s into 1-0 wins, I don't care how we get them. As long as we do it, I won't care if we go down if we put 110%. I sound like a manager, but I just want everything on the line.
That was the stress in that sort of winter period, wasn't it, Dan? That it was like, you're not trying, they're not even trying.
Yeah.
But we're going to start to wrap it up. I do ask you both for your prediction. Luckily for me, the expected double points, both Andy and Paul got it wrong, and I did a win. So I've got points in them, so they're not going to double my points yet. But anyone who wants to join in, click on the QR code. I'm absolutely rubbish at this, but I'm still in it. I've technically got a chance to win. There's 66 points to play for. All I need is 60 of them. And then to get nothing. So I could win. Come on. 11 cup finals. But Joe, what's your prediction for Saturday?
3-1 Sutton.
3-1 Sutton. Lovely. And Dan, you don't play along with this anyway, but
no. I mean, I do agree with Joe that we have to go for the win. I don't think a draw would be horrendously fatal, but a win would. To be fair, we've been saying this since Steve came in after his first couple of games. They look like they've been playing like a side that if they get a win, look like they might go and get another. Like they might be able to back it up, go and get one or two. Yeah, let's go. Let's tell you what. Let's be positive. Let's go for a shithouse 1-0 scruffy bundler in front of the hardy travelling fans.
I'm going to go for a more confident 2-0 to Sutton.
Oh,
just because I'm thinking,
ambitious.
Yeah,
clean
get that
sheet.
clean sheet.
Are
Get that
you
clean
right?
sheet now.
I mean, I've just said a clean sheet. I mean, come on.
To be fair, yeah. we need to have more
I think you
faith
said
in
1-0.
Steve.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't really take that in, but never mind. It just shows I don't listen. Right, gonna wrap it up. Thank you always for your ear attention. I haven't got the mug. Joe's on. I haven't got the mug to show you the ear attention.
I forgot about it. I forgot about
Joe,
it.
every week. And I say Joe's going to roll his eyes when he listens. And obviously you don't. But follow, like, share, and retweet on social media at Sutton Podcast. Subscribe on your preferred platform. Give us those little thumbs up on YouTube. I do love seeing them, especially when people put the thumbs down because I've mentioned women's football. Oh, no, I've done it again. But thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Thank you to today's panel of Joe and Dan. Joe stepped in at the last minute because Mark, who I had definitely signed up for Thursday, wasn't able to do it because I didn't actually sign him up. I just forgot that bit. And Dan, who was always a maybe because he was not sure about going, but he was rewarded. And now that's the next 5 years. Dan's going to have to go to every game just in case he gets the FOMO again.
No, that's not how it works.
FOMO. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thanks for listening and take care. We will be back on Sunday with Rory and Alistair. So they're doing the Tranmere game for me. It may be news to them, but I will follow up with an email now and tell them. But take care, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!